Hey, Tom here, FlipAnythingUSA. Tonight we're going to just generally chat. We've got Chris here with me.
Hey, guys.
And I was out last week. I went to Colorado Springs. Sorry, John, I didn't get a chance to look you up. Almost had an opportunity, but it didn't quite happen. Anyways, if first time watching here, Wake Up and Smell the Real Estate. That's a book I wrote. It's right there. Oops, right there. And you can get that on Amazon and Kindle, and now on audiobook, it's available on Audible. But you can get that, and you can also have mentorship, which we'll talk about that a little bit more too. We just finished up second class, and it's been quite nice. People have done very well, and I've enjoyed it. And anyways, Chris here is one of them. He's already bought. How many properties have you bought? Chris was actually somebody who recognized me in Home Depot. We didn't know each other, other than he recognized me from my channel.
Yeah.
And then he became the last student that signed up for the first class, and then he's been an assistant here and a big help.
It's been super fun, and honestly, I always had a passion for real estate. I not always, you stumble through things in life, but I think it was probably about 5 or 6 years ago I really got the itch, and I was like, I got to figure this out. I got to know how to do this, and I even remember it was my in-laws. They said, hey, we want to buy a property in your area town as an investment property. You and my wife, they said, why don't you go pick out the house and we'll throw down the down payment. You guys rent from us, so we're paying the mortgage. But I remember we had a real estate agent that was recommended by a family friend and all that. And we got kind of tied up in that.
And that was a good thing or not?
No, it was horrible because he kept on throwing us all these homes all over the place. And, we went and looked at some, but sure enough, I was going on a motorcycle ride through one of my old neighborhoods that I kind of grew up nearby. And I saw this house that had a coming soon sign. I said, that's it.
Yeah.
That's the house. And I even remember before I even read your book, I can kind of see how some of these things piece together, but I saw the guy standing out in his driveway. I said, hey, you're selling the house? He goes, yeah, we haven't put it on the market yet or anything. I said, hey, here's my name. Here's my number. I want to be in touch. I didn't have all the tips and tricks that you've taught me.
But, but you knew enough to go, wow, it's coming soon.
It's coming soon.
Yeah,
and I called
it's common sense.
I called the agent, the listing agent, every day. My realtor didn't do a single thing except collect a paycheck at the end. But from that day forward, we bought a little property in the country that we Airbnb now. We closed on a house today, me and a buddy of mine we're flipping a house. And so going to full demo mode this weekend. And then next week I close on another property with, my wife and I were closing on
You can start talking about that one pretty soon.
Pretty soon.
You better wait till it closes.
Yeah, until it closes.
Yeah.
But that one's going to be a super cool Airbnb. Just something really, it's historical and it's fun.
Yeah.
So coming soon. More news coming soon.
Yeah, that's awesome.
But yeah, things are good. Things are good. And I don't know, you took a vacation recently. You're out of town for a little bit, right?
Yes. Yep. I just got back from Colorado Springs and actually pleasantly surprised. It was really a nice community. I've got one daughter coming out of college going there in December. And even my twin boys who have been trading stocks, they've been talking about. They like cooler weather, which I'm a fan of it too.
Hey, who doesn't? Yeah. Did you guys do Pikes Peak or anything like that?
Yeah, and the Garden of the Gods. There's a cool little place to see there, and the Skirted Heifer, which was one of these Guy Fieri's, one of the dives or burger dives he went into. I wouldn't call it a dive; it was a really good burger.
Yeah.
So I'm a fan now of that. That'll be a regular stop too. So I was all, I'm just a obsessive compulsive real estate buyer. I have been my whole life. And so I'm almost going through some withdrawals myself because I've disciplined myself not to buy anything lately.
Right.
And I pulled out of a couple of deals I was on. They were actually really decent deals, but I said, you know what? I'm just going to go cash here for a while. And I still got a couple more $1 million worth of stuff to sell. And then I'll have a pretty fat bundle of cash that I've never had. I've always been somebody to just reinvest as fast as I have money in my hands. And it served me really well. Which, by the way, if you're just getting here, please subscribe. Please hit that like button. We talk about a lot of stuff. And I've been doing real estate for 40 years. So if you're here, welcome. We got a lot of people here watching that are regulars too, which is great. And glad you're here, Rui. We got to interview Rui here too, by the way.
Yeah.
Rui just made a killer deal, turned $12,000 into $36,000, and now hopefully be turning that $36,000 into $100,000 or more.
Yeah.
Right?
Very cool.
But that's the thing with real estate. I can tell you, I feel weird kind of sitting on my hands a little bit, accumulating cash at this time. But I'm at a different stage, I'm in my late 50s now. So, and I got kids graduating college, and, I'm going to be an empty nester pretty soon. So I'm starting to give thought to actually wasting a little bit of money. And when I say wasting, I mean not optimizing the money so much. But this is something I get to do because I've got money. But I may just go ahead and buy a beach house down in Manhattan Beach, California, and just use it in the summers and hang out there. I love the beach. I'm a big fan. I've taken my kids so many times to Hawaii that I remember these friends of ours said that their kids were shocked because they were overhearing the conversation, and they said, "Where are you going to go this year, Tom? Or what are you going to do for vacation?" I said, "I'll probably just go to Hawaii again." And the kids go, "Oh, not again." And anyway, so they're not a fan of the beach like I am. They're looking for the mountains, and some people like mountains, and some people like the sand. I like both, and in California, you get the best of both worlds there. You really can. You can go skiing. I've been in the snow and I've been on the sand in the same day. It's really, there's a lot of problems with California. Don't get me wrong, but they're. The real estates, there's, the beauty and the terrain that you can see all over that state is amazing, and the weather is the best. It really is the best. So I thought we'd watch this video. Stephan, let me pull this up here. Stephan is, young guy. He's actually, I don't think he's the greatest investor in the world, and he backed off talking about real estate, to be quite honest, other than the stuff that he shows that he buys. And I think, what is it, Kevin Leary, actually. He had Kevin, whatever, Mr. Wonderful, actually, somehow they crossed paths, and I didn't watch all of it, but I watched a piece of it, and I could tell he wasn't crazy about his portfolio, but nevertheless, look, this is a nice guy. This kid's a nice guy. And
I think nothing else with the title. What we're looking at here is it's just what everybody's talking about. This is going to give us discussion points on Tom. I'm interested to see what you agree or disagree with, and your vantage point on everything.
Yeah. I don't know. I'm not I don't really. Listen. I see people predicting the future, and you know what? They don't know what the hell they're talking about most of the time. I don't care how great of an expert you are, you're wrong half the time. So I just kind of feel like most everybody's guessing. Now, there's some obvious stuff. I can tell you my own observations. The economy was cranking. It was doing great. Record employment of every race, no matter who you were in America, you were busier than ever. We're taxing the raising the tariffs on the Chinese, which I can tell you I'm an importer exporter with one of my other companies, and man, that's long overdue. I get ripped off all the time. I make a product here. It costs 25% before they can even take it off the ship and deliver it. And when I send it to China, but they'll copy my product and they can send it over here tax-free. It's bullshit. It's not fair. And so I really appreciate the fact that Trump addressed that. And that's been a big deal. Everybody that works for me, and I do have a lot of people that work for me, and guess what? They all got a raise because of the Trump tax cuts. He gave everybody a raise that makes less than $400,000. You're keeping more of your check. All that stuff helps. All that stuff helps the economy. Now, and of course, that brings up, the other topic is who's better for the economy, Biden or Trump. That gets talked about a lot. Well, I can tell you that Trump has done some great things for our country and financially. I don't care if you like him or not. You don't have to like him. It doesn't make him any less a better manager of the country than what we've had previously. So, but I don't want to get all political here, and I'm really not getting political. I'm just talking business and money because, that's real estate. That's money. That's what we're talking about is money. And so we can we'll hear what Graham has to say.
We'll listen like time and a half speed.
Yeah, copy Josh made a good. Hey Keith, Glad you're here. Copy Just said lots of bubble talk, but inventory still low. We really haven't had a bubble. That's the thing. Normally that's what happens, that we get a bubble and it bursts, right? And then everything falls apart. Commercial goes down hard fast. Residents, go under, people are upside down. And, so really what we're talking about is an unknown. How are we affected by the pandemic? The pandemic is what happened, okay? Now, it didn't really change. It did put a lot of people out of work very quickly, but guess what? Those jobs, more than half the jobs we lost are back. And, I noticed today my bar, the bar that I flipped and made a couple $100,000 on, I just drove by a little while ago, and guess what? It said open. I saw people all over the place. And I looked up on the marquee, and it said open October 1st. That's how I knew it was October 1st today.
Huh?
So that was really cool to see. And but that, they've been killing the economy by keeping these, and I'm not a big fan of the shutdown. I think it's been overused, and I think it's been politicized, and I say that only because I have flown all over the country in the last month. And, guess what? We're packed like sardines inside those airplanes. But when we land, all of a sudden, don't go into a bar, don't have a drink, don't sit near anybody. It's just silly to me what's happened. And, but obviously if you're over 70 and you have other problems, then, obviously wear a mask, or don't go inside. And I believe that. But back to the money, because look, nobody, listen, I'm a money guy for sure. I'm a numbers guy. I watch all the numbers, and everything that I do, if there's a calculation to be made when I'm talking to somebody, it happens because I just can't help it. That's how I think. I think in terms of money. When I buy something, when will it pay off? What's the payment going to be? What's the interest? How can I justify it or not justify it? And I run those scenarios through my head. Right now, look, if you want to buy a home for yourself, man, this is the time to buy. 100%, 2.8, 2.6. I even heard about the other day. You can't beat that interest rate. It's super low. Okay, even if you paid a little bit more than it's worth, guess what? If you're going to keep it long term, it could make sense. It can make sense if you're going to keep it long term. Now, if you plan on flipping it, then flip it. Buy it under market and flip it. That's what we do, right? That's what we do. People that take my course and have my book, what they know, that's what I've been doing my whole life is I buy and I flip. You can't get hurt taking a profit. But you can, if you hold on and speculate, you certainly can get hurt. I've had it happen to me and I've seen it happen to others. And so I know firsthand. And that's the thing. Where I'm right now, I'm holding on to cash only because I know, you're going to find out the more deals you make, you realize there's always another deal, okay? Now, sometimes there's some really painful ones you might lose or just miss by a little bit, but there's always going to be a deal. You got to know there's always going to be another deal. So don't ever feel like you got to settle for a less than great deal. You don't have to settle for a less than great deal because there's always going to be somebody dying or, divorcing, or making mistakes or losing their job or moving, and the things that happen that create deals. They happen in every city, everywhere, all the time. And let's see who else we got here. Hey, by the way, if anybody wants to call in, man, we'll take calls here too. I see Liam's here.
And if you guys have questions, you can start dropping them in the comments. We'll go back to them maybe after the video if we have time.
Oh, Liam, I've flown to Wyoming, Idaho, Colorado, California, Arizona, okay, all in a very short time. He's asking me where have I flown commercially. Anyways, and the only place that actually did any kind of social distancing on the plane was Southwest. They would only put you with family together, or they put a space in between you. Oh, Keith, you got the audiobook. Thanks. Appreciate that. Actually, I was very surprised. I'm still figuring out how to read the numbers on that thing, but that a lot of people bought it very quickly. It's only been out less than a week, I think. So yeah, I've flown around quite a bit here. And also you guys know I'm what do we call it? I'm my mother's guardian. My mother's got dementia, and so there's responsibility and travel that come along with that as well. Lago Vista. Hey, how you doing, Rob? Very good. All right. So there's anything anybody else wants to talk about, we can certainly get to it. Let's just go ahead and get this video started. You okay with that, Chris?
Let's
Anything
do it.
else you want to add? Let's start this. You guys let me know right away if you don't hear it well, okay? And I'll make an adjustment. But let's go and see what Graham has to say.
Surprised that lately it's been impossible to check the news without seeing some of the most astonishing real estate related headlines, like home sales jumped to a 14-year high, prices soared 14% last month, home prices hit record highs, the biggest gain in 2 years, mortgage demand up 25%. And yeah, I'm not even kidding, that's all in the last week.
Now, I want to just say something. Now, when you think about it, it's not a surprise, some of that stuff, because everything got put on hold. Like I said, we had a great economy, then everything got put on hold. It was like we're just frozen in time. But guess what? People still had money in the bank. People still were buying property. I mean, they were set up to buy property. And with that, as soon as they flip the switch back on, of course, there's going to be a run on real estate and on inventory. People were planning on it, and now they're fulfilling their plans. They're making up for 2 months. So you got 2 months worth of action or whatever, actually more than that was held up. It happened all at once. I can even tell you businesses that I own, we were slow during those few months. And then all of a sudden when things opened up, guess what? Our sales went through the roof because all of a sudden people are like, okay, now I can go back to work, and I'm talking about movie-making equipment. They weren't making movies for 2 months, 2.5 months. Well, now they can, and all of a sudden our sales are going through the roof again. But again, so some of that makes sense. They held out, they squeezed everything closed, put it shut. Like nobody could do anything for a while. So then when they could, it was like, boom, they bought. Not everybody was out of work, obviously. So let's keep watching.
Obviously, in the last few months, the real estate market has experienced something that could only be described as the eighth wonder of the world, while prices continue to skyrocket while unemployment remains at a record high. And I know we could point to record low interest rates, mortgage forbearance, and a decrease in inventory in terms of pushing up demand, but still, the question that gets brought up nonstop, time and time again, is whether or not this is sustainable. And how much longer can this continue before eventually housing prices begin to stabilize or come down? Not to mention, at the same time, we have some other people warning about the housing market potentially dropping and that maybe we're about to come to an end of housing prices doing nothing but going up. Well, we've got some answers, and we're going to be going over whether or not it's a good idea to buy a home with interest rates at their lowest rates, well, pretty much ever, or is this just propping up prices long enough for them to eventually fall back down once foreclosures are processed and interest rates go back up? And I say all of this as someone who's been working in real estate full-time for 12 years now. I own 7 going on 8 properties, and real estate is my largest investment still to this day. But my second largest investment, however, is smashing the like button, and really good news on that. But the like button is now more affordable than ever, and it costs you nothing to make it turn blue for the YouTube algorithm. So thank you so much for doing that, and also a quick thank you to Morning Brew for sponsoring this video, but more on that later. Alright, so I'm not going to bore you with all the details of what's happened over these last few months, so I will summarize everything in under a minute. In March, for the most part, the entire economy shut down, and the Fed lowered their benchmark interest rates all the way down to almost 0% in a way to bolster up the economy. Low interest rates just means that money is now cheaper to borrow. It helps promote a little bit more inflation, and that should keep people away from hoarding too much cash during a time where everything is going down in value and people are out of work. But real estate took a slightly different turn. Low interest rates caused a surge of home buying demand because now the cost of a mortgage was a little bit cheaper, which meant people could get more home for their dollar, and so everyone had the exact same idea: let's go and buy a house. But there was a problem. Sellers were not listing their homes. Not only were sellers concerned about having strangers walk through their homes during a time where cases are spiking, but also even if they did sell, where would they move to? Or who would give them a loan in the event they lost their job? That caused inventory to dwindle down to record low levels as people held off from listing their homes, and that's where all of this begins. I'm sure this one does not need any explaining, but the price that someone's willing to pay for something is largely dictated by supply and demand. Like if there's a lot of something available but very few people are willing to pay for it, like Disney's new release Mulan, then prices come down. But if there's very little of something and a lot of people wanting to buy it, then prices go up, like with toilet paper. Well, toilet paper just basically happened to houses. Fewer listings available combined with more people wanting to lock in a low interest rate on their mortgage meant that people now began outbidding each other in an effort to buy what little inventory was currently on the market. And now here we are with housing prices reaching yet again their all-time record high. Some people worry this is another 2008-like housing crisis upon us, and others just feel discouraged that they're outpriced of the real estate market yet again. So what's going on? First, let's talk about interest rates, because this is going to have the biggest impact on you and what you pay for a home.
Yeah, so I'm going to say something here just for a sec. I don't know if you guys remember, but we had the dot-com bust, right? It looked like everything was going to pot, but the interest rates went down. And so the interest rates went down enough that even though there was a lot of devastation from the dot-com bust in California, particularly because I was looking at beach houses back then, And man, everything just kept going up. And it was a little frustrating to me because I'd see new investors, and for them, the reality of investing was you buy a house, it goes up $200,000 in 6 months, and you sell it, and then you do it again. And I watch people do it, and I'm going, what? It doesn't work that way. And it's like, but it was that, and that was a big. And you got to remember, because I started with interest rates at 9.25% was the first house I bought. I think I got 9 1/8 because I opened up a bank account at that particular bank, and they were coming down from much higher than that. So the interest rates, interest rates came way down from when I first started buying real estate. Interest rates were like 10%. So that was news after that dot-com bust and the interest rates dropped so much. And it defied the economy. In other words, you're thinking why people are out of work, and it was less people were working then than they are today. And again, people aren't how much, they're how much a month. Okay, so the only other factor we have right now is banks feeling comfortable that you will be working. So if you're in a position that the bank is comfortable that you will keep your job, and believe me, I get reports from banks that are interbank stuff that bankers share with me, and you'll see. They got their finger on the pulse, but they don't know everything. They still get scared. And the smart ones, I have them they'll ask me, they want to know how my renters are doing, what kind of renters do I have. And it's not just because they're worried about me and mine. They're trying to learn. They're trying to learn who's hurting and who's not. Are the schools hurting? Well, guess what? Some of my schools are not hurting. Now, the ones that, like jiu-jitsu, I'm in jiu-jitsu. I've hardly rolled in 5 months. And they're hurting, but they're coming back. It's coming back. So anyways, we'll keep listening.
Like, here's a quick test for you. I want you to play along with this and tell me which one is the cheaper home to buy. The first option is a home for $300,000 that you could buy with a 30-year mortgage at 6% interest. Now, the second option is the exact same home next door that you could buy for $450,000 with a 30-year mortgage at 2% interest. Think about it for a second. There's a $150,000 price difference between the two, and the only variable here is the interest rate. Well, if you guessed the $450,000 home would be cheaper, well, you would be right. The cost of buying that $450,000 home at a 2% interest rate works out to be $2,038.29 per month with the 1% property tax rate. And of course, the cost of buying the $300,000 home at a 6% interest rate works out to be $2,048.65 per month with that same 1% property tax rate. So in this example, buying the more expensive home is actually $10 a month cheaper, even though it costs you an extra $150,000 in the purchase price.
So, hey, I'm going to break in here again just for a second because, I haven't told anybody this lately, but I used to say it all the time. Play with your amortization schedules. And also, just so you know, look, I'm going to pull this up. Take a look here. This is the calculators that are within, if you're a member in my deal, the calculators are, if you take the mentorship, then there's some access to things that are in the back here. And also, but these calculators that I have right here, guess what? If you can go get my app for free, the FlipAnything app, it's not on Android right now for some reason, but you can get it on iPhone. And go get my app, because once you start logging some properties in there, you can get in there and you can get into the calculators. And these mortgage calculators, they're not just mortgage, but you can go in there and do an interest-only payment calculator. You've got the deal calculator, which is a way of figuring out what you're paying for it, what you're going to sell it to, and what you're going to assign it for. See the assignment fee, so that you can present to somebody and show them. Say, hey, look, I'm going to flip it to you, and there's this much money. Or this is your potential. Like in this case, the potential profit here is $49,000, and something that we've done before, I guess. But it's really important that you understand math and numbers. Because, I tell you guys about the apartment building I was buying. I'd offered them $320,000 at like 6 or 7%, because that was the prevailing rate at the time. And they couldn't budge. They didn't want to budge. He goes, no, my wife's got to hear $400,000. I said, okay, well, how about 2%? And he said, hey, write it up. And I did. And in the end, it didn't take, you could see that if I just held that property for 5 years, I think it became a better deal. And I planned on holding it a long time. And what I ended up doing is I ended up flipping the property, but because of the great mortgage that I had in place, I was able to, at the bargaining table, say, hey, I'll let you assume this amount of the loan, rather than pay me off cash, I can give you a loan, which basically I was just going to let them assume the first that I had sitting there. I said, I'll let you assume this if you give me an extra $30,000 now at the table. And guess what? They did it, and it was a good deal for them. They were saving money overall. So anyways, again, it goes to the subject of interest. And so
I got a question for you, Tom.
Sure.
Because sometimes you tell these stories and it's like you just spit the numbers out, like you're a numbers wizard. Was that for you? Did that come naturally when you first got in the game, like of real estate investing, or did it take some time for you to kind of figure out how to crunch all the numbers with the interest and assuming notes and, the back and forth of the banks?
It's always come pretty simple to me, but you know what? But really, I'm just a basic math wizard, really, because it's just basic math. Really, I'm a guy that if it's worth 100, I know I can buy it for 70. It's a no-brainer, right? I don't pretend to be particularly sharp at math, but it's just math, right? It really is that simple. Yeah. But yeah, no, as far as I could look at this and I know very quickly, but it's because I have a history of doing this stuff that was represented right here. Uh-huh. But listen, it'll blow your mind. You play with that. You play with the interest, and you will be blown away. You can give somebody exactly what they want to hear and save hundreds of thousands of dollars, and that's kind of where he's going to with this. The only downside of this stuff here is when you pay $450,000, and I'm looking at this. So look, when you pay $450,000 instead of $300,000, you do get hurt a little bit in as much as the property tax. If they know you paid $450,000, guess what? You're going to get taxed. You're going to pay taxes on $450,000, not $300,000. So you're going to pay, an extra 50% in taxes than you would here. And in some states like Texas, particularly, that is a substantial. I can tell you right now that costs you $6,000 more a year. So you lose $500 a year right there, just in interest. Just in taxes. Yeah. So it's something to consider.
Yeah. So there are the little nuances. That
So
up.
I do think about math.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah.
But yeah. So
that's
let's
good.
see. Who else is here? Let's see.
Keith said, when you start losing money, you'll learn math real quick.
Yeah, that's right. Let me tell you something. When you buy a home and you start paying taxes, or when you get a job and you start paying taxes, well, some people say you become a Republican, but anyways, or conservative. You certainly become conservative. But hey, let's keep watching.
Yeah.
If you're confused, here's how that works. When you calculate your mortgage payment, it's made up of both principal and interest. And the interest rate you pay can make a pretty substantial difference in how much your monthly payment is. For example, if you borrow $100,000 at a 3% interest rate, your monthly payment would be $422. But if that exact same loan now has a 5% interest rate, you're now going to be paying $537 a month. That means that as interest rates go down, your mortgage becomes cheaper, which also means you can afford to buy a more expensive home, like in our last example. It's no surprise that over the last 30 years or so, real estate prices have continued to climb as interest rates have continued to decline. And now we're at the cheapest rates we've ever seen, while real estate prices have been the most expensive they've ever been. The concern, however, is how sustainable is this and what's going to happen when interest rates end up going back up? And is there a worry of more inventory flooding the market as mortgage forbearances eventually turn into foreclosures? But before I answer that, I want to say a huge thank you to our sponsor today, Morning Brew. Now, you might think this is a coffee company, judging by the name and my obsession with 20-cent iced coffee, but you would be wrong. They're a totally free daily newsletter that gets sent to you every Monday through Saturday and brings you up to speed with the most important business news in just 5 minutes. Now, this is just me talking here, but when I agreed to do this sponsorship, I told them that they would have to be cool with me saying whatever I wanted to say about them without having to read off a bullet point checklist, and they said sure, because they know they got a good product, and honestly, I like it a lot. Now, as some of you know, in order for me to come up with enough content to make 3 videos like this every single week, I have to read a lot of news so I could absorb as much information as possible to then craft videos around topics that you would want to watch. 3 months ago, I subscribed to Morning Brew, and I kid you not, it's now become the first thing that I do in the morning when I wake up at 6 a.m. It's actually this weird habit now where I don't get out of bed until I've completely finished reading
them up and jump ahead.
And I like them enough to recommend them.
If you get a 0% mortgage?
And the answer to that is no. It's highly unlikely that we would ever be able to borrow money to buy a house at 0%, or that we would ever get to a point where negative interest rates means that we pay back less money than we borrow. Chances are that's just never going to happen. Now, what ends up happening is that when a bank lends money, what they're really doing is receiving a commission for pre-packaging a loan that they So
well,
obviously,
too
banks and
basic.
investors need to be compensated for this risk. And if they don't make that money from their interest rate, then they certainly will make that money by increasing their upfront fees. Anyway, with that out of the way, the Fed has recently stated that they intend to keep interest rates low as long as they need to in order to stimulate the economy, and will continue to keep interest rates low to meet their target 2%.
Yeah. So speaking to this, let me tell you, I've got a drop. What do we call it? A drawdown note. I just got a drawdown note. I'm putting together for $1 million just so I can get another $1 million if I need it, if I want it. And again, like I told you, I'm not buying anything right now. I'm just sitting on my hands. I've been buying, I've been buying houses way more than I want to, and I've been making money on them and flipping them, and that's been great. But really, I'm looking for something big. I'm looking at a building right now that's like $6 million, and I'm looking at some other stuff too. But I'm waiting for the right deal. Okay, I want something bigger because I got to remember, I'm getting ready to. Retire. Listen, you never retire when you own hundreds of thousands of square feet of property. Your phone's going to ring no matter what. So when you have hundreds of rentals, and I've probably got about 130,000 square feet of rentals right now. And then I have more than that too. That's the property I'm flipping and selling. But my point I was going to make is I have the option of having a variable or a fixed rate right now. I'm going variable because I think we're going to be sitting I think the rates are going to be low for quite a while. And, the last downturn that we had in 2009, I did a variable, and I went and I did the LIBOR. That's, LIBOR. That's London International Bank, something or other, something. Anyhow, based on the London Bank, which very much follows the, they follow our Fed rate. But the bottom line is when everything tanked, after that, which they did in 2009, my interest rate dropped 3%, and I borrowed $3 million at that time. So that saved me $90,000.
Wow.
$90,000 a year, which was helpful because I was probably losing about $150,000 a year. So that offset, more than half of it, because it was tough times, But anyways, let's keep watching.
Inflation. For real estate, that just means that housing will continue to be cheap to finance. And because the financing is cheaper, that extra money just gets siphoned into what the buyer is willing to now pay for a property. But that, of course, lends the question, what happens when interest rates go up? It's difficult to say for sure since there's so many different factors at play, like the local economy for each market, its desirability, and how much inventory there is. But we'll talk about averages here, and here's what I found. Despite what you might think, one study concluded that historically, rising interest rates actually made no difference overall to the price of housing. In fact, since the 1980s, housing continued to rise even when mortgage rates were going
That's not
up.
my
Another
experience.
study confirmed this as well. Analysis from CoreLogic, Freddie Mac, and the Bureau of Labor Statistics found that housing prices did indeed go up, even though interest rates also went up. Now, the reasoning behind this is actually pretty simple. One, interest rates are generally only increased during a good economy with strong wage growth where people are spending money. And two, interest rates are also raised to combat inflation, which, as any real estate investor will tell you, inflation is generally good for real estate because that causes prices to rise up in tandem. So an easy way to put it is this. Low interest rates just means that real estate is now cheaper to finance. And interest rates only go up during a good economy where people are spending money and increased inflation, which, like I just said, is also good for real estate. However, let's be real, it's not like everything happening just benefits real estate, like an asteroid hits Earth and all of a sudden...
All right, so I'm going to say to that real quick. Listen, that study may be, I don't even know what he's talking about, to be quite honest, but this is what happens. When the interest rate is low, obviously you qualify to get a bigger and better house. But really what also happens when you're an investor like me, guess what? You can raise the price because people buy how much a month. They don't care how much, they go how much a month. So like you say, you can take a $300,000 home and push it quite quickly to closer to a $400,000 cost because people don't care. If they qualified for a $300,000 home and now suddenly they qualify for a $400,000 home, they don't do the math. And that's the difference between good investors and bad is we do the math. And the reason we do is because we know how much money's there. And where other people are they just have the mentality they just want to get it. They just want to get it. And so they don't care. They go, I can, I can borrow as much money as up to $2,000 a month will cover. Well, used to cover $300, now it covers $450. Okay, I'll take it for $450. I mean, people are kind of that dense. It happens. But again, what happens is, as an investor, though, when the interest rate goes up on the stuff that you own, okay? In other words, you got it. Let's say I bought a bunch of stuff and I got it at 2.6. Well, all of a sudden, everybody bought it 2.6, and I got the max for the stuff that I sold. But the stuff that I'm carrying, I'm still carrying at 2.6. When I go to sell it, it's a different story because now, same example. Now what I could have sold for $450, now I have to sell it at $300 to make it affordable to the same person, right? I have to sell it for 50% less because it won't be affordable to them. Like doing the math on it. Now realize real estate goes up, and if the period of years have gone by, their wages have gone up some too as well. But I can tell you right now, that's why I say you're smart to buy something that you plan on holding for a while. That would be great. But I think the interest rates are going to stay low for quite a while. So I think it's pretty safe to even an investor to buy something and plan on, even if you want to speculate a little bit and sell it in a few years, I think you're pretty safe, But again, the only thing I know for sure is that I don't know. but I can tell you the interest rates I do believe will stay low for quite a while. It takes a while. It takes a while to recover, and before they feel comfortable bringing them up. And then when they do bring them up, guess what? They don't bring them up like a whole percent at a time. They might jump a 0.5% or 1/4%, and then they'll start jumping them up just like they jump them down. But again, what I would say is just be wary. I don't care what he's quoting or what he's looking at. It's to an investor, and he's, he might be talking about like I always say, the masses are the asses, right? And those reports are talking about the masses. Okay, they're not talking about the sharp guys that flip and make money. So, anyways, looks like he's going into character here. Let's watch a little more.
Real estate prices increased 2,000% as supply dwindles to record lows.
The thing is, real estate is based on so many small factors like location, inventory, the local job market, and the health of the overall economy. And obviously, some locations are going to end up doing a lot better than others. For example, in the last 12 months, San Francisco only saw a 0.6% increase in prices compared to San Diego, which saw a 5.2% increase in prices. That goes to show you that local market factors and the local job market influences prices much greater than simply low.
Yeah, it also might be because of the homeless have covered the streets in San Francisco, and they have not in San Diego. It's not as bad.
Interest rates. And that does mean that eventually, if more inventory comes on the market, then real estate prices should begin to stabilize, or, dare I say it, actually go down. And with inventory at record lows, with record low interest rates, that has kept prices buoyant. Eventually, I have a feeling that over time, more sellers are going to be comfortable listing their homes in this market, inventory will increase, and over the next few months or years, things should begin to normalize. But then there's also the concern of foreclosures. As it is right now, homeowners have the option of opting into mortgage forbearance that allows them to temporarily pause their payments and then add them back on to the end of the loan. The good news here is that it looks like month after month, the amount of loans in forbearance has been steadily decreasing. And the latest finding was that last month, loans in forbearance went down from 7.2% to now 6.8%. Now, in terms of how severe this is and what this means for the entire housing market, the actual numbers are not as alarming. As it is today, homeowners have, on average, across all the homes out there, about 60% worth of equity in their property. Meaning for every $100 of value that they have, they only owe $40. And 42% of all homes are owned free and clear. That means we would be highly unlikely to see a wave of foreclosures unless housing prices dropped about 30%, leaving a portion of those mortgages underwater and then subject to foreclosure. So here's how that works.
I don't know, but that's an interesting statistic, if that's true. Is he said that 40%, what he was quoting there, said 40% or 42% of homes are paid for, right? Well, that's gold. If those people are old, if those people are elderly, let me tell you something, that's where I made a ton of money and still do, is when property is paid for, when it's outright paid for, those people, when you get old, you got to start thinking about how you're going to take care of yourself. You quit working. Now, of course, I have rentals. I have all kinds of stuff that brings in money. Not everybody has that. They have their job, they have their pension, they have their Social Security. So they start thinking, how am I going to live? And you guys have seen the commercials where they finance their home and, basically they sell their home, but they get to live in it till they die. Somebody else does the math and they go, yeah, you're probably going to be dead in 8 to 15 years. And so they make a deal where they get what do you call it? It's a decreasing more. I mean, it's
I've never heard of that. It's new to me.
Oh yeah, no, it's a terrible thing. That the people that are, and because I've run into it with people that want to buy their property, they go, well, it's already committed. I go, what do you mean? Well, what they've done is they've made a deal where they're selling their home. They've already committed to selling it. They've already been given maybe $200,000 or $300,000 or more, and they've got that cash, and they get to live on that cash. Or collect a certain amount of money from them each month with the understanding that when they die, they give up the property. When they die, the property goes to the person that's giving them the cash.
Wow.
And so, yeah. And so they got a formula that says, look, I'm buying it. Maybe I'm even paying more for it than it's worth at the moment. But you're going to take care of what you take care of. Maybe they take care of the taxes and that sort of thing. I mean, there's nothing in stone. You can make a lot of different deals. But the bottom line is, in the end, when the people die, they have nothing to pass on to the family except for maybe the cash that they have in the bank that they've already received. But the home is owned by somebody else. Yeah. It's like a life estate. They call it
Rob says reverse mortgage.
It is a reverse mortgage. Thanks. Yeah, it's a reverse mortgage, which is that's I guess that's the term. that they use. I was trying to associate it more with death, but yeah, it's a reverse mortgage, and it's a sad thing. You know, I just hate it. You know, I hate it when people refinance their home to pay off consumptive debt, meaning, you know, refi their home to pay off the crap in the yard, the boat, you know, and people do it all the time. And it's really, really, listen, I'm telling you, discipline yourself. I was so thankful that when I bought real estate when I was starting at 19 years old. Well, guess what? The first credit card I got was American Express. That was the best thing that ever happened to me, because it's really not a credit card. It's a credit card for a month. It's all due and payable every month at the end of the month. And so it trained me not to spend more than I can pay off at the end of the month. And, you know, I was looking back, my first American Express card, I think, was like in 1984. So I was 22. I guess I was 22. And, you know, the first car I bought, I borrowed $1,700 from Norwest Financial. I was paying 26% interest.
Oh, my god.
Total loan sharks.
Oh, my
And my
gosh.
payment was $170 a month. Must have been a 30-year mortgage on that car. I don't know.
Goodness.
But anyways, but so yeah, I don't know how we got on this exactly, but the reverse mortgages are just a nasty. I mean, it's fine, I guess, if you didn't plan well and you don't have any money. It's a way to live the rest of your life. But of course, a lot of us would like to leave some money to our kids, and I'm sure everybody does, you know. But you got to do what you got to do. You know, main thing is a lot of people, their main goal in life is not to be a burden to their kids, right? Because that's what a lot of people end up kind of being, is a burden to their kids, you know. And to my mom's credit, my mom actually saved quite a bit of money. I was blown away when I looked in it, you know, got control of my mom's estate and go, oh, wow, she's actually doing okay. It was a relief, because I had actually, you know, I'd helped take care of my dad, and I thought I was going to have to be taking care of my mom. And, but no, she saved. She did well. So,
Josh says it's called reverse because it's until the death of the person, not the loan.
Right. So I guess, yeah, it's not the loan. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe you know more than I do on this. I mean, you probably do. But the bottom line is, I believe they get, I mean, I have a friend of mine. It's really worked. He did one. He's done one. And it sounds like he's already pulled. He told me he's going to be $800,000, the way he sees it, ahead. So I don't know. He's a good negotiator. And he's got that going. He's in his 70s. But these other folks I just talked to the other day, they're 80s, and, you know, they just, the bottom line is, you know, when they're dead, the house is gone. You know, obviously, this could be a handy thing. Tom Selleck pitches it actually on a commercial. I saw him doing it the other day. So the American way. Yeah. I mean, I can't even say that they're necessarily sharks. I mean, you know, although I know a guy that he bought a property. A really smart guy. Really, the guy was milking cows 10 years before I met him. And when I met him, we were in one of his high rises that he owned.
Whoa.
It was a friend of mine's uncle, and he was a pipe fitter. And all of a sudden he was building desalinization plants in Iran and rocket sites and all kinds of stuff all over the country. And he had a bunch of executives from like General Motors and other people. And he actually went belly up to a degree. But he's done fine. Incredible safety record. The guy's got just an amazing safety record. His name is Brinderson, Gary Brinderson. If you ever look up Gary Brinderson, you'll see Gary Brinderson has, what he's known for is like the most amazing safety guy. He's had thousands and thousands of workers, you know, work for him doing all these, you know, high risk jobs and things, and almost zero accidents, zero deaths, zero, you know, fingers severed. All that stuff happens, you know, if you got enough workers, that stuff happens. But yeah, look up Gary Brinderson. A really interesting guy. But I remember when I visited him with him, you know, and this has probably been 35 years ago. I was a kid, and he's a friend of mine's uncle, and we were actually trying to get to where we could meet him, where we could do a turnaround on one of his 2 jets that he had. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We just talked to him while he flew to New York, then wait and have him deal, then could fly back. It didn't happen, but we did get to meet him in one of his towers in Irvine, California. And anyhow, what was really neat about Gary was just that he was such a smart guy, number one, but you know, that he came from so little and had built such an amazing business so quickly. Anyways, let's go ahead and watch the rest of this.
So when a home is foreclosed, that just means that the homeowner stopped making payments to the bank, so the bank has to foreclose on that home to recoup the loan. But if you owe a bank $100,000 on your home worth $150,000, there's no way you're letting the bank take over the home because it's worth more than what you owe on it. So instead what you do is you sell the home, you use that money to pay back the bank, and then you walk away with the $50,000 in equity. So in this case, even though there are mortgages in forbearance, it's unlikely that all of those people are going to stop paying their loan once the forbearance period is up. It's also unlikely that everyone is going to start selling at the same time and that everyone together is going to start crashing the market. Now, in terms of the numbers here, 3.6 million people were more than 30 days late on their loan, which represents about 4% of the entire housing market. Now, as of last year, 10% of homes with a mortgage owed more than what the home was actually worth, meaning about 0.4% of homes in forbearance right now are at risk of foreclosure, where the homeowner owes more on the home than what the home is actually worth. The remaining homes out there have enough equity in them where if the homeowner needs to, they could sell it, pay back the bank, and then walk away without having a foreclosure on their record. The biggest risk here, though, is that if everyone decides to list and sell their home at the exact same time, just flooding the market with inventory. But I think realistically, that's probably not going to happen. The biggest concern that I see right now is with retail space, where currently almost 20% of loans are in default as businesses close down. Overall, though, here's my advice. Low interest rates are keeping prices high. Record low inventory can't stay low forever. And eventually, I think interest rates will go up, but who knows how much or when that will happen. Yes, we have mortgages in forbearance and incredibly high unemployment. But overall, it's a lot more important to look at the local market conditions than national trends. For example, I could see real estate prices in New York and San Francisco going down, but prices in Texas and Phoenix going up as more people want to move there. Real estate is really going to be a local market depending on where you live, and even though national trends can have a small influence on price, it is not the end-all be-all. Instead, all you need to really know is that you only buy a home that you could afford, that you intend to live in long-term without selling. Generally, I don't recommend buying real estate unless you have the intention of holding it at least 10 or 20 years, because anything can happen in the short term. Wow. But as long as you buy something that you could comfortably afford alongside with a healthy emergency fund in case something happens.
Yeah, well, he's never sold a piece of property. I mean, he's held everything he's ever purchased, so that's why I say, you can make a lot of mistakes and not be aware of them. but anyways, okay. But when you're making, he must be making $2 or $3 million a year now, just on YouTube. It's crazy. I don't know if you saw the video I did earlier on Meet Kevin. Meet Kevin's making $10,000 a day on average, and that doesn't even include some of the other money he's making. And Meet Kevin has 1/3 of the followers that this guy has, that Graham has. So Graham's probably making $30,000 a day. Just amazing, just amazing. Awesome, Graham. I'm glad you're making that kind of money. It's awesome. I wish I made that kind of money. These guys will be passing me up soon, I'm sure. But let's watch the rest of this. This is pretty enjoyable, actually. I mean, at high speed. Yeah, he actually gets on my nerves. But I'll say this about him: he talks fast enough. I don't have to speed him up.
Right.
But when it says 18 minutes, it means we're watching 18 minutes.
Right.
So.
Buying real estate, and I currently have another home under contract. But you need to look very closely for the right deals and make sure you can afford it, or that it cash flows enough for you to break even in the worst case scenario. If you can do that, even if there's a downturn, you'll be totally okay to weather through the storm until things recover. That's exactly what I'm doing, along with smashing the like button for the YouTube algorithm. So with that said, you guys, thank you so much for watching. Make sure to destroy the subscribe button and the notification bell. Also, feel free to add me on Instagram. I post it pretty much daily, so if you want to be a part of it there, feel free to add me there, as my second channel, The Graham Stephan Show. I post there every single.
All right, so you can smash that subscribe button right now.
There you go. Destroy it.
Yes, destroy it, yes. Hit subscribe. There's my subscribe button. So we can start talking about real estate here. Graham, thanks. That was a nice video to review. A lot of news there. And I got to say, I'll give him credit for the fact that he does, he repeats the news well. Those are good topics, Those are good topics. And
hey, I didn't pick a bad one then, huh?
No, you did good. You did good. Yeah, like I said, I wouldn't take his investment advice, but I would certainly, whatever he repeated, whatever he says, he gets up and reads the news in the morning and puts it together. And you know what? If I could make $30,000 a day, I think I'd do it too.
Sure.
So let's see what else we got here. Yeah, so the calculators, and I'm going to get, actually, I'm going to put a little NOI calculator on here. And I actually asked my web guy today, by the way, I told him to put the calculators on the outside of the website. So in other words, this is inside the members area, but I'm going to make this calculator and more available on the outside of the site, just so people can jump in there and get to it and play with it quickly. And might even put a couple other features on the outside of the site as well.
Maybe here in the next couple of weeks, Tom, we could show some of the viewers what it looks like what members get, what the perks are.
Yeah, we're gonna do that. We're gonna talk about that. I'm gonna do a Zoom meeting, probably Saturday. I was gonna do one tonight, but plan on it. If you guys are watching, we'll do one Saturday or something. I'll plan on doing one Saturday morning, and when everybody's off work, and it'll be open to people that aren't members as well. But we'll go back inside and our best I can do with the Zoom. We'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about, real estate wise, deal wise. What's good about the Zoom is I talk about some things that I don't talk up openly here because it's more private.
Sure.
I got to remember, I'm making deals. When I'm making deals, I don't want anybody to step on my toes or step on your toes, so it makes it easier to discuss. So let's take a look at some of the questions we have here. Okay, Robert Glaude. On top of the $1,780 I should be making per check from Uncle Sam, should I save up and purchase property like a duplex or just... You need to get my book, Robert. It doesn't matter what you buy. As long as you buy it under market, you can make some money. It just doesn't matter. If you limit yourself to trying to just find duplexes, then guess what? You've just limited yourself and you've increased your competition, because if you're just a little bit broader and you just more look at the numbers, what are these properties worth? Houses, duplexes, triplexes, whatever, a commercial building, industrial building. It's just math. You got to know that they rent, and you got to know what they rent for. And then the other things you'll start to consider is, listen, duplexes and stuff like that. You're talking about replacing carpet. Every time somebody moves out, you got to replace the carpet. They can trash it. They can do a lot of damage to that type of property. Where if you had like an industrial or commercial property, guess what? The next person comes in. You just have to sweep the place. Next guy comes in. He puts in, he tears everything out that's in there, and he puts in his own tenant improvements. He might put in, a new floor. He might put in all kinds of crazy good stuff. I had a tenant not long ago. I assisted them with what they wanted to do, but I was relieved because they were spending over $100,000 just on the interior. And really, when I say the interior, I'm talking about they were putting in a lot of stuff to support their servers and high-tech stuff. But it was a big investment. And, like locks and, proximity sensors, it was a very, very secure area. They're a high-dollar company for exactly what they do. I'm not going to talk about it, but I know a little bit about it. But the bottom line is very, very secure. They're putting a lot of money in it, which is like, oh, good. I think you're going to stick around a while.
There you go.
That's what makes you feel so good about it. All right, so let's see. Chris, what can you tell us? Tell us something.
What can I tell you? I don't want to. Well, I've had a few people ask about, again, kind of my bread and butter is Airbnb and short-term rental. That's kind of my angle. And I've had a few people reach out and ask, hey, I'm thinking about that, but I need help getting started. And so, yeah, I'm kind of doing a little bit of consulting on the side.
Hey,
and,
beautiful.
Just like I have a playbook for basically starting everything you need to think through, from housekeepers to smart locks to, how do you actually list it to make it attractive? And
do you keep cameras on the spot so you can keep an eye on your stuff from afar?
You mean on the properties?
Yeah.
No, that's actually a great question.
Ring doorbell, at least, I would
guess. Yeah. People go with the Ring doorbell, but a lot of people, there's even a place on Airbnb where it says, do you have security cameras on site? And there's a couple people who got into major lawsuits, and rightly so, but they had cameras on the inside of their properties and they didn't disclose it, and people just get really creeped out by that. And so I have on one of my properties, it's out in the country, and I like a wildlife camera out there. And so I have to disclose, though, even so, that I have a camera on the property. I have people all the time ask me, like, where's the camera? And I'm like, oh, it's seriously, it's an animal trail camera. Like I'm looking at pictures of deer and stuff like that. So
I'll tell you a funny story. So I think it's been far enough. Nobody's ever. I'm not going to tell anybody where it was, but I had a property from about this at least 15 years ago or more. And what I had was I had the security cameras that were like 100% hidden. They were like in the fire.
Yeah,
like the smoke detector / camera. There was stuff like that, and I had them all over the place. And it wasn't for any particular reason. Of course, I mean, I had people. This is a company that I owned, and we're always looking for theft, and we don't want somebody, if they're going to break in, we don't want them to go, oh yeah, just bust the cameras. They just ignore a smoke detector. But later on, I rented this building. Okay, I rented this building out, and I did disconnected. I actually still maintained a part of it for myself, but I pulled all the camera stuff. So I thought, but I remember about 3 or 4 years after. I thought I'd gotten rid of everything. I'm going in there and I'm playing with the wires, and all of a sudden I go, what? And I'm looking in somebody's office, and I go, there's not supposed to be a camera in here. And I realized I had a camera still live in one of my rentals. Is this is an office building, so no big deal. But of course I immediately went over there and yanked that thing out, and and that's the story. Let's see.
Got somebody called the Iced Coffee Hour with Jack and Graham Stephan.
What's up? The iced coffee hour. Huh, interesting. Okay, y'all keeping it kosher for our boy Graham Stephan, or are we going to have problems?
Yeah, we didn't.
Not sure what that means. Oh, no, yeah.
We didn't bash on Graham.
No. I mean, like I said, he's not talking about real estate investment, so, I don't have much to argue with, really. Yeah. But yeah,
that's kind of what I've been up to a little bit. And like I said, I'm demoing a house this weekend. I won't be there on Saturday because I'll be putting some of the tactics to work from your book. And,
good.
Yeah, so.
And he's closing. Chris is closing a deal. He's got a nice little deal he's going to close, and it's going to be another Airbnb, right?
Yeah. And, I really am. I'm excited to show some pictures.
I want to rent that thing. I want to be the first to rent it.
All right.
I'm telling you, because I'm ready to go. It's a pretty cool little deal.
Yeah.
It's not far.
I've got probably about 2 or 3 weeks worth of just little upgrades and knickknacks, and I'm in the process. I got an ad in the newspaper for hiring a housekeeper, and so I'm doing
did you have to replace the one you had?
No, I've got one already, but this is for a different property, and so that's the thing with short-term rentals.
Geographically,
yeah, you got to be able to,
you
got to be able to flip stuff around quick. So, and I tell you, I'll just give you guys this: if you're thinking about short-term rental, or you're in short-term rental stuff, your housekeeper, your cleaning crew. That's it.
Oh, yeah,
I mean,
that's
that's the bee's knees. That's
Absolutely.
it. They have to be on it, and there's going to be trust there and accountability. So, yeah. I don't know what's going on in the comments.
Yeah, it's all right. So anyways, but, look, back to the economy and what's going on. Look, there are no bad real estate properties. There's just bad deals. Don't make a bad deal and you'll be safe. Always buy relevant to what the market is today, and buy under that market, because that's your hedge about getting hurt. If you're gonna speculate, then you would definitely got to be careful. And like the stuff that I buy to hold is stuff that's gonna rent. I don't even care if it goes down. What I care about is it staying occupied. And so I buy properties that are in good areas. I feel sorry for these people that buy in these rough neighborhoods, and it's just a shame what's going on in these riots, because I can tell you right now, when you destroy a property in a neighborhood, I mean, the insurance, they're not going to insure that thing. Nobody's going to, nobody's going to rebuild. I mean, it's so screwed up in these areas that are getting damaged. It's just a terrible shame. To have that happen on top of the pandemic stuff, I mean, it's just a double whammy, and people are just never going to recover from it. And they're not even going to want to recover in the same place, unless they're allowed to shoot people. Because I can tell you right now, that's where I'd be. If I had to, I'd be down there with a gun, and I'd be shooting anybody that starts breaking in. And you can do that. You're allowed to do that, But some people just got hit way off guard. It's just a mess. All right. So Shannon. Shannon actually wanted to call in. Here's Shannon. Here's the call-in number. Sorry. And let's make sure our phone's working. So Shannon, if you'd like to call in, you can go ahead.
She wrote a question here. She said, in your beginning, did you approach the realtors when you gave them your card as an investor with honesty about your inexperience with contracts so they can help you?
Well, you don't broadcast it, but it depends on who you're talking to. I certainly misrepresented people as to my wealth. I made them think I was wealthier than I was when I was 19, and that I had more than enough capacity to pay for anything I wanted to buy. And really, I say that, and it's not necessarily true, because I knew I was going to buy. I knew I'm going to buy this from you. I am going to pay for this. I will pay you cash. Now, it doesn't matter that it's not my cash. It's going to be somebody else's cash that I'd either borrowed or I'd make my partner with. But yeah, certainly you need to seem very, very strong, even if you're not. So if you want to call that a misrepresentation, then fine. That's a misrepresentation. But when you're beginning, you got to make people feel that you are qualified to buy and that you're going to close it, you know. And you can be honest. You can say, hey, you know what? I'm getting it from my uncle or from my friend. You can do whatever you want to do, I've probably told so many stories at different times, to be honest, when I was young, the bottom line is the beauty of it is when it's owner financed, there's really, like say, man, I didn't even see the person in person, especially if you're making the deal through an attorney or a real estate agent, right? Which, by the way, there's opportunities. I bought property from attorneys that actually just gave the store away. They didn't, they just don't care. A lot of them don't care. And that's not their job. It's not what they do best. But so you can make a lot of money buying property. But to your question, it doesn't hurt to make people your friends always. I always say network and talk to agents, and it's okay to say, hey, you know what, I don't know about this. So no, it's fine to be honest and stuff like that. But when you're negotiating with the person that's selling, I mean, you gotta convince them that you're going to close this deal, that you're going to make it happen. And if you don't, they're going to go to whoever they think will. But certainly, yeah, network and talk to agents. And I don't know that you need to tell them. What I always say is share with an agent what you can. If you have something of value, and that could be like, hey, I tell it all the time, it's in my book. When you find a property that's maybe not as good enough of a deal that you're going to buy it, but that person wants to sell, well, that's a great gift to give to an agent. You can go to an agent and say, hey, listen, I got this property. I know I'm not going to make a deal on it because they won't sell it cheap enough that I would buy it, but you can probably go get a listing. Here they are. Here's their phone number. Go knock on their door. Go get that listing. Go sell it to somebody else, make some money. That means a lot to that agent. And guess what? When that agent gets a pocket listing or gets something that's a pretty good deal that happens maybe within their office, they may just think of you. But you can't count on them thinking of you. You got to always be relentless and contact people all the time and let them know, hey, I'm looking. Very important you contact people and let them know, hey, I'm looking for this. Like, I guarantee you, in my phone, there's texts that say, hey, I'm looking for something for $1.5 million. I'll put $400,000 down. I'm looking for something for, 300 or 400 up to $1.5 million. In other words, I'll pay cash 400 for something. Or if you got something worth $1.5 million, I'll put 25% down or 30% down. And those are the things you need to do to stay in touch with agents so that they think of you. Because this is the deal. You can have somebody that you're working with that you just talked to yesterday. And oh boy, hang on. Oh, we got a call. Hang on. All right, Chris. Whoever that was, you can try back. I'll let Chris figure it out. I'm not an Android user, but that's the phone we got. But what I was going to say is it's so important that you contact somebody at least every 2 weeks because, and I forget what there's actually I forget what they call it, but basically, people remember like the first thing and the last thing, right? They don't always necessarily remember the middle. They remember the first thing you said, they remember the last thing you said, and but they'll forget you very quickly. And so it's important that, believe me, I've lost deals because I just stayed out of touch with somebody by 1 day. If I'd have just talked to him a day earlier, I would have got the deal. Yeah, I had a guy that promised me he'd sell me his property forever, and I believed him. But I still stayed in touch. And then one day I walked up, and he was sleeping. And I go, I can't wake him up. I'll come back tomorrow. Well, I didn't come back tomorrow. I came back the day after tomorrow. When I came back the day after tomorrow, he announced to me that he'd just sold the property the day before. I should have woke his ass up.
Yeah.
God, I'm still mad at myself.
I'm
never going to forgive myself for that because I'm supposed to be the best. That's what I tell myself.
I like what you said is, people, they remember like the first thing and the last thing. Did you ever give out business cards or anything like that?
Yeah, no,
like,
I used to have a card. I mean, I have cards have my name on it, my name and my email, and of course all that stuff. And of course I hand those cards out. When I was younger, when I was, in my early 20s, when I was in my early 20s, put on mute just for a second, maybe.
Okay.
Am I live?
Okay, so look, you're going to be live in a minute. We're going to talk to you in a second, whoever this is. Give me 1 second. But I'll finish this point is...
Hello?
Oh.
Someone answered my phone call.
Okay.
I did mute. I
Okay, go ahead, cut them loose. All right, here we go. Who do we have on the phone? Did you lose him?
Hello? Here we go.
Hello, go ahead.
Hey, man, what it do, man? Hey, I'm watching your live stream. What it do?
Come again, please. Say that again. Slowly.
I'm watching your live.
Here we go.
Oh, good. Where are you at?
This
Are you
is,
talking to me or are you still
No, yeah, I'm talking to you on the phone.
Oh, cool. Am I on the show?
Your voice is, yep.
Oh, perfect. Thanks for taking my call.
Sure. What's your question, or what do you got to say?
Well, I just wanted to come on. I saw the name Graham Stephan, real estate, chat. I was curious, you're talking about flipping, and Graham Stephan, contrary to that, is into the long-term hold. I guess, what's the benefit between the two, I guess, from your perspective? I just came in, so I didn't get much context. I was just curious.
Sure. Yeah. No, look. I actually flip properties actually not far from Graham Stephan. He was just over the hill.
Oh, okay.
And, of course, he's a lot younger than me. But I started 40 years ago. And here's the deal. Graham makes about $1 million a year. Probably makes about $2 million a year now. He's making a lot of money. And he started out as an agent, and he made some money as an agent. And first couple properties, I think he did a great job. He bought some properties like $60,000, $80,000 that are probably worth 4 or 5 times that now. And that was great. But then he started making big money. He started making money like a doctor, and then even better than a doctor, right? He's making really big money now. And so now he just accumulates. He just buys property and sits on it. And I saw a little piece of his Kevin talking to Kevin Leary or Kevin O'Leary. And again, that's of limited value, okay? If you're a doctor or a lawyer and you're making, a couple $1 million a year, you can do that. You can just keep acquiring property. You're just converting the asset. In other words, you're converting cash into real estate. Okay, well, for me, I had to make money on every deal, okay? I didn't make a lot of money. I made money on real estate. So I would buy a piece of property and I would flip it and make 10 grand. And then I'd do it again and then pretty soon I'd buy 2 deals of 10 grand a piece and make 10 and 10 and then 15 and 20. And so that's the difference between like me and Graham. Graham, it's real estate chat. He's talking about the economy in this case, but he talks about a lot of stuff that has nothing to do with real estate, and he makes a fortune doing that. But if your goal is to make money in real estate, and you want to, real estate is a great way to make a ton of money quick, and relative to your lifespan especially, but you got to flip it. You got to flip it until you have enough that you can say, okay, I'm going to allocate some of this to hold for long-term holds and rentals and income, and then the rest I'll keep, it's like an engine. It's a stream of income that you have cash available to flip, to buy and flip and resell. So that's it. But Graham was talking about the economy and interest rates, and you just have to go back and watch the video. But hey, I appreciate you calling. And where are you from?
I'm actually from South Bay. You said you're over the hill. I'm South Bay from you.
Oh, okay. So you're South Bay, what? Manhattan Beach, Long Beach? Where are you at?
Gardena.
Oh, Gardena. Okay. Yep.
I was actually featured on Millennial Money, if you're curious about that, on CNBC Make It. Graham talks about those videos all the time.
I got to look that up. I saw that was mentioned by Kevin Leary, Millennial Money. I'm going to have to take a look at that.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Well, I'll do it. Well, hey, thanks for calling in. And, subscribe and watch and like.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to smash that like button. I'm going to subscribe, and I'll see more of your videos in the future.
Sure. And get my book. You can get the book for $10. You'll learn a lot, especially starting.
Oh, okay.
Yep. Thank you.
all right,
Take care.
We got another call. I'm going to switch over. It looks like they're still on hold.
Okay.
Hello? Nope. Okay. All right.
Yeah, I don't think, I think somebody was calling from, well, actually, he's probably the Gardena call. I saw the 310 area code. But, so let's see. How long we've been talking? Have we been on long? I can't tell.
Yeah, over an hour.
Oh, wow. Wow. All right. Yep. Oh, Gardena. Yeah, Gardena's near you. All right. All right. So look, hey, we've gone over an hour. It's been fun. You know, try to do more often. We lost a few days here because I took off for a week, and then the presidential debate was the other day. But if you just got here, please subscribe and please like the videos. Of course, it helps. You know, whatever. It helps more people. It gives us more exposure if you do. So if you like what you hear, please do. So we're going to say goodbye for now, and thanks for hanging out.
See you guys next time.
Take care. Thanks, Keith. And Keith, we'll catch up later. See you.